Hey, what's up, guys? Oh man, you know Scary Monsters. Always love the work they do. Of course, the work. Who are they? They are mainly fans. Right? This is a very professional fan magazine. Of course, the subject here is one near and dear to my heart. Probably my favorite horror genre or science fiction genre. The apocalyptic horror. Right. Although dystopians are mixed in here, which makes sense in the end, right? Dystopians really are the end of the world, right? The end of the world as you know it. A future that is so different from what you know, which is of course bad. So great covers, great. This movie I want to go over, man. This was such. Me and my late fiance loved this movie, and it didn't really get a lot of acclaim. This is an amazing film. On the back too, the art. Always mentioning the art, all the different apocalyptic films. Yeah, real good collage kind of work here. So, but let's get in. Like I said, I don't want to go over the whole thing because I want you to buy it. I want you to get it. Get a subscription. I know that I buy it in the store, but get a subscription. So, example, right? What was your golden age? I mean, I could imagine me. I could write an article. So they'll just be like, "Well, what is your name?" By In These Goings Down. Well, that's not a real name. So maybe I wouldn't, but and maybe a lot of it's boomer monster kids. But remember, like we are all boomers now. Once you're 30, you're a boomer, right? So we go here, right? My golden age of monster movies, right? Television was the main source of delight, right? Back then we still used an antenna. Remember those? As cable had not yet come to our house. Yeah, remember the antennas? You had to, turn it this way. The snow. You got in maybe six. You had 6 or 7 television stations. A lot of messing, right, with the antenna. Sometimes in desperation. Yeah, man, still was a better time. Right, and also there's when you wanted to see a film, you would look in TV Guide, and you would look, and you would say, "Oh wow," okay, and it would appear randomly on the schedule. There being no video recording available, you had to be in front of the TV at whatever hour of the day it was, or you missed out. Staying up late was a big part of the fun. I remember when I was old enough to start staying up. I remember the first movie I saw that was on, like, I don't know, I think it was 1 o'clock in the morning, or is it 2? I don't know. It was called Monster on Campus. Right? And I remember even asking my mother, "What is a campus?" I didn't know what it was. Right, and you got the great, this movie was on TV all the time on Channel 7, Mysterious Island. So, you get more of that. The brain that wouldn't die. You think this is actually a pretty nasty movie at the end, man. What this thing does to this scumbag, pretty good. Like, I'm going over this stuff quick. I want you to buy this, right? Survivor's Guide to Collecting Monsters in the 80s. I'm living in the 80s. So they bring up Remco. There's a whole thing with these monster figures, especially Remco, Mego. They made these action figures. Of course, these were licensed, so now you can actually make them look, I guess, sort of like these things, but kind of cool. Just going through here, right? Vincent. They always mention, right? Frankenstein. I remember my first stepfather seeing a commercial of this. My first stepfather, I give him credit. I don't know where he went. A Vietnam veteran, but he always would tell me, like, he was the one that actually taught me about the films I was watching, because my mother sort of didn't know, and she was sort of scared to look at the horror stuff. But this guy I mentioned, he was upside down in his truck for like 4 or 5 hours during a firefight with the guy next to him dead. We still like the scary movies, And I remember when this came out, Frankenstein, the play, because I think Dracula, the one with Frank Langella, was a big hit on Broadway. So they tried this thing, and I remember the commercial for it, and he had mentioned that to me, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out. Spoiler, you're gonna see a lot of Vincent Price. Yes, Vincent Price was all over the 80s. You could argue that most of his the greatest film stuff when he was younger was done before, but in the 80s he was sort of winding down, and he was a part of the mainstream culture. I always bring up actually now I don't, because the guy's younger, but like millennial guys, I remember if you were at work and Thriller came on, everyone knew the song Thriller, right? Michael Jackson. even the young millennial dudes. And but when the middle, when you're in the middle, when you have the Vincent Price sort of do the rap, that I always used to laugh and go, okay, I'm gonna know, how old you are when I go, hey, do you know who the person who's talking right now? Do you know what his name is? And invariably, the guys that were in their early 30s or no, mid 20s, late 20s, early 30s, they were like, no, I don't know who that is. I always hear that voice. It's just some creepy guy. All right. The years are passing. I know. All right. Also, the thing with Vincent Price, right? An extraordinary acting career has taken him from the theater, films, and television to the lecture platform. Right. He was basically like a college level art historian and also like a chef level cook. Very interesting, man. Very interesting. Whatever. They bring up all the other stuff here. Godzilla. When this came out, I remember I saw this in the theater. This was too dark for me. I remember not liking it when I saw it in Kings Highway movie theater. If anyone remembers that one, one of those old opera house looking movie theaters, and it was too dark for me. This is, of course, aged very well, very well. And going into the 80s, right? Vincent Price was everywhere. Good for him. Make that money, man. Yeah. Anyway, man, I used to love these. Of course, we get into the end of the 80s here. But yeah, stuff like that, like little things that I would remember someone else bringing up. Televised terrors. I keep mentioning, right, the TV. Like the TV movies, there were horror movies that were TV movies in the 70s that were some of the best, very scary, creepy movies that ever came out. Because they couldn't get too gruesome, they had to really work on the other departments of horror. But as we know, really, the other aspects of horror have more staying power than the gruesomeness. Right. I mentioned how the scent of a freshly carved pumpkin took me back to being a kid making a jack-o'-lantern. Yeah. Right. And he brings up, so this guy grew up in Connecticut, but the tri-state area. We had access to 3 independent New York-based stations: WNEW TV Channel 5, WOR TV Channel 9, and WPIX TV. Bro, this guy's probably my age, or maybe a little older. I realized that I was at the end of this. I thought I was in the middle of this. Apparently, I was at the end of this. By the mid 80s, this stuff's all gone. But yeah, these were the 3 channels. This is where you saw a lot of your stuff. Also, Channel 7, 2 and 4, not as much. That's right. That's all we had. Right. Right. He just mentions also the variety. It wasn't all just horror stuff, right? These networks filled the airwaves with vintage horror thrillers, sci-fi shockers, war movies, lots of war movies. The War Lovers, right? Sands of Iwo Jima. I still like some of those movies, despite what I always say about the war. But detective dramas, right? Comedies, right? The Buck Rogers. Remember the Buck Rogers? I always liked that better than the Flash Gordon. The Bowery Boy films again, right? It's the last faint echo of those halcyon days. WPIX was the clear winner, yes, with an unbeatable lineup of kid-friendly reruns. Okay, so this guy's older than me. He remembers Gigantor, Stingray, all right, but those were not on Speed Racer, right? But the Little Rascals, the Three Stooges, the Munsters, right? Batman, Star Trek, right? In the 70s, right, the Twilight Zone got big. So this guy's he's a little older than me, so. Right, the tri-state area, right? All cultures seem to flow out from NYC. And they gave up on the horror host concept. I didn't grow up with a horror host. I mentioned it. Remember this? Frequently preempted, preempted by specials and sporting events. WPX was home of the Yankees. I had mentioned my stepfather was a Yankee fan, which was weird because he lived in Queens. I don't know why he wasn't a Mets fan, but time approximate after baseball. Yeah, a lot of times this stuff got preempted for the Yankees. Although back then, the 70s Yankees too, the late 70s Yankees. That was some time, Reggie Jackson, Thurman Munson. Remember when he died? No, you don't. Yeah. And here, man, Is it gonna be 2 videos? Yeah, why not? Right. This was a huge thing. Now, I guess this was done. I don't know when until right. This was done probably since the mid 70s. But I grew up with this on Thanksgiving. It was on Thursday. They would show on Channel 9, right? The Secaucus, Jersey station. They would show in different orders, but they would show basically King Kong, Son of Kong, and Mighty Joe Young. One of my favorite movies that is forgotten. Love that movie. That's weird. One of the big reasons I like that movie because he doesn't die at the end. Yeah, when Kong and Son of Kong die at the end, it used to make me really sad as a kid. So, and then of course Friday they would show Godzilla movies, right? So this was a thing they did for probably, to me it seemed like it was just a tradition. Of course, it probably lasted all of 7 years or 8 years, but when you're a kid like that, oh, nostalgia, you double-edged sword. And remember, oh man, oh chiller. This thing, I've mentioned this before. This thing always scared the hell out of you. Right, late 1970. All right, so this, like I said, this is a little before my time, but it's fine. So Chiller was on until 82. So you can say by the time I'm a kid, right, a lot of stuff was being canceled. By the time I literally popped out in the early 70s. So by the time I'm already starting to be able to differentiate things, it's the end. It's pretty much the end for this kind of stuff on television, anyway. Of course, round it out, of course, just another, like a lot of Carpenter films. A lot of them really, really age well. Some of them were hits right off the bat, but some of them really over time really start to measure up. And this is probably one of the best Lovecraftian films ever made at this point, with the intention of making it based on Lovecraft. So, am I gonna do another vid? Yeah, why not? It's my channel. I can do what I want. You think?